people took hold and made a change that really made a difference. And we know that our changes are going to have to be more grounded in spiritual values, but what the people of Athens did at that time did reflect some of the values and principles we're talking about. Distribution of riches, developing consultation, changing patterns of social equity. So here's a list of some of the things which have been discussed very much in the world lately. And I'm speaking of the discussion which has been going on about good governance. And I know this has been discussed and mentioned in several of the speeches that we've had, but just to remind you about some of the important aspects. Reflexive governance means governance which initiates exploratory scenarios, which develops a foresight process, which looks into the future and develops consequence analysis based on human development criteria, as well as on criteria of growth, such as we know it, based on income and material wealth. There's also the pressing need for what is called mutually reinforcing policies. And I stand here and I feel myself a little bit out of I feel a bit like a frog in a pond with goldfish. I mean, you all are the goldfish and I'm the frog, because I represent social sciences. And as a social scientist, I feel that many of the perspectives you have presented here during this weekend are the same kind of ideas that you can find in the social sciences, but we say them in a different way, and we talk about them in a different language. So we need to get together. We need to have understandings that are interdisciplinary and policies which reinforce not only the economic but the environmental and the social aspect. And we know from many reports that the social aspect has still far to go. Long-term perspectives, there's a lot that can be said about that, and much has already been said. So I think I'll hop over to the institutional adaptability and flexibility. What can we do as individuals or businesses to help governments develop institutional adaptability and flexibility, or reflexive governance, or policies that are mutually reflective? Well, on the one hand, we have, in effect, because as businesses, governments listen to businesses, businesses have many ways of lobbying governments, but also as individuals. You and I, we have the vote, we're citizens, we are encouraged to participate in the debates and the discussions. We're not, as Baha'is, encouraged to participate in party politics, but we are encouraged to be involved in the development of society. So we can influence and affect the development of these kinds of dimensions of government as such. And these are also the greater responsibility delegated to the grassroots level. For those of you who have worked in development, social and economic development, you know that this is one of the key things that a number of organizations, the Baha'i Faith and others, have focused on for many years, although it hasn't been the main focus of social and economic development in the world at large for many years until recently. But it's not so easy. When asked, how are you going to involve your stakeholders here in this, what do you answer? Do you have a process by which you can get input and then discuss and reflect upon that input and then make a decision based on the input of your stakeholders? I mentioned last night that this is one of the exciting things that the ISO 26000 process is doing. It's providing a system, a suggestion of systems where people can guarantee that you and I can give feedback and give ideas and information to the businesses. And this is, again, what GRI is very keen on promoting. There are a lot of details that we can go into this, but the important thing about the grassroots participation is that government will also be closer to what's happening and be able to know how their policies affect people. And that's being done everywhere. I mean, you can sit by your computer. You can give feedback to the EU today about policies they are trying to adopt tomorrow. You can write in and tell your senator you prefer this policy or this law to another. We have a new world where communication is so much easier. So that these are some of the things that the government is needing to develop, and we need to encourage the government to work on, including majority rule, which protects the rights of minorities, which we also know is an important thing. Okay, government's one actor, a central actor in this role that we're talking about of achieving prosperity. Next one is what you all are working on, and that is the market. I didn't like that when I was going fast.
Be careful.
Yeah, the market is something that I won't go into much detail, but I think we have to admit that what we've spoken about this weekend emphasizes revised goals, long-term perspectives, greater transparency and accountability, and increased cooperation and partnership with government and civil society organizations. But who are the civil society organizations then? Who are the ones that you're supposed to talk to? Because you can't talk to everybody. I mean, that's impossible. Civil society organizations used to be called the Don Quixotes, of the world, thinking that, they were running out fighting windmills and not really achieving much. However, a lot of researchers, especially Mats Carlson, has indicated that civil society organizations, they gave women the vote. They managed to change a lot of things in society. And they are organizations